Good morning, brothers and sisters. Today we have the great blessing to continue our celebration of the Holy Feast of the Nativity of our Most Pure Lady. And we continue to celebrate this feast today by remembering her holy parents, Saint Joachim and Anna. In fact, today is like the pinnacle of the Old Testament. You could say that John the Baptist is the pinnacle of the Old Testament, for he is the greatest of the prophets. But today, the woman who will bear the Messiah is born. So today we're speaking about her parents, what we might call the highest of Israel, the people who will give birth to the daughter who will bring forth the Messiah. And this is the pinnacle of all of the Old Testament. So with St. Joachim and Anna, the greatest of our intercessors, we always cap our intercessions with them. We always say, and also to the prayers of the holy grandparents of the Lord, may the Lord have mercy on us, in addition to all the saints. St. Joachim and Anna are among our greatest intercessors, but they're also among the greatest models of virtue that we have. And I want to speak first of their virtues in general, but also of their steadfastness, which is a virtue that is special to us. St. Paisios of Athos, who recently glorified, had deep devotion to St. Joachim and also to St. Anna, and he said that God would have come sooner. The incarnation would have happened sooner, except there was not a couple as holy and as pious as St. Joachim and Anna to give birth to the Mother of God. So when this holy couple appeared, the time of salvation was at hand. And what we know about Joachim is quite impressive. Joachim was a profoundly generous man, especially in the way of the Old Testament. From the age of 15, Joachim would divide every bit of earning that he had into 3 portions. He would give 1 to the poor, he would give 1 to the temple of God, and then he would keep only 1/3 for himself. And when it came time to offer sacrifices at the Holy Temple, he would offer double what the law had commanded, that he might glorify God for his riches and also to cover his sins. And Joachim was a shepherd by trade, and his flocks were among the greatest in all of Israel. God had blessed him massively, blessed him with all kinds of goods. But he had withheld the blessing of a child, which was for the Jews one of the greatest things a man could have, was offspring, issue, the continuation of life. And Joachim was bereft of this, he and Anna. And in coming to the temple, of which he was often visitor, he went to the high priest, to Reuben, the high priest at the time, and he said to him, "I would like to offer sacrifices to my God." And Reuben said, "No, you are cursed, you who are childless and are barren. Why should I receive sacrifices from a man who is obviously a sinner before God? Because if you were not a sinner, God would certainly have blessed you with offspring." And Joachim, being a man of tremendous piety, was devastated by this. He was devastated. Even though he had all the virtues, and even though in the scriptures it says quite clearly that those who serve the Lord will be blessed. And in the Old Testament, because this was before the time of grace, many blessings were carnal. God would bless men with children. God would bless men also with wealth. God would bless men with all kinds of good things. And he would also punish men carnally. You commit this sin, you die. Take that man out and kill him. Stone him right now. Right? So everything in the Old Testament was done oftentimes in an external way. Because the time of grace had not yet come. So on one hand, Joachim, in all his virtues, which were very manifest, he was like Abraham. It's so interesting that he mirrored Abraham in so many ways. Abraham being this rich man at whose tent anyone is welcome to receive hospitality, but at the same time also bereft of children. And Joachim is in the same situation, and we see his virtues, and these are the virtues that we are all called to emulate, as we are called to emulate Abraham. So we are called to emulate Joachim. And Abraham entertained the Holy Trinity. Joachim and Anna, of course, entertained God. But what's more important is what is the response that Joachim and Anna give to this slight, a massive public humiliation. It's more than a slight. And also this curse that they seem to be under of lacking a child. Obviously, the pain of not having a child doesn't manifest only at the moment that Reuben rejects him, but it would have been manifest throughout their entire marriage. Because this was the basis of judging a marriage. Men would divorce wives all the time if they could not bear children. What do the Pharisees say to Christ? They say Moses said that if a man wishes to put away his wife, all he has to do is bring out a certificate of divorce and say, "Away with you, woman, if you cannot bear children for me." And what's interesting is that even Abraham succumbed to a kind of carnal temptation. God had promised him children, but Sarah, not quite faithful as she should have been, said, well, take my handmaiden and conceive with her. And here comes Ishmael. And we see this also with Jacob. We see, among his wives as well. When they stopped issuing, they, of course, bring forth their handmaidens, Rachel being the first because it takes her longer to give birth to children. But we don't see Joachim do this. Joachim doesn't take a handmaiden. He doesn't take a concubine to produce his heir. He continues to trust in God. He continues to trust steadfastly in God. So Joachim is slighted by the high priest, and he leaves in despair because he's a blessed soul. And he goes into the wilderness and he says, I will trust in God. And I trust that God will hear my prayer and that he will release me from this curse. So with tears, he fasts and he prays and he lifts up his hands to God and he says, God, have mercy on me. You know that I serve you. You know that I labor. And I know also that you can make issue come forth even from a barren woman, as you did for Sarah, as you did also for the mother of Samuel, who was also the child of a barren mother. So please also, Lord, have mercy on me. And Anna shows her great virtue in that she also sees the mourning of her husband. Of course, she mourns this too, maybe even more than him. So she goes to her own garden and prays, seeing that her husband is so distraught. And she prays for him and she says, Lord, have mercy. So even though Joachim and Anna are blessed, and their virtues are obvious and very manifest to us, they represent something greater, and that is that they represent a steadfastness in adversity. In Psalm 32, the Lord says, a king is not saved by great might, nor shall a giant be saved by the magnitude of his own strength. Futile is the horse for salvation, nor by the magnitude of his might shall he be saved. Behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their souls from death and to nourish them in famine. Our soul shall wait for the Lord, for he is our helper and our defender. For our heart shall be glad in him, and in his holy name have we hoped. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according as we have hoped in thee. So it's not necessarily to those who struggle or necessarily to those who are the strongest. It is to those who hope in the mercy of God. And that is exactly what Joachim and Anna have done. They hoped beyond hope, remaining faithful to the mercy of God throughout their whole life, and their faithfulness is proven in this moment. As they, in the deserted places, lift up their hands to God and say, Lord, hear us and have mercy. And the Lord rewards their faithfulness, and they become parents. And the Mother of God takes away their disgrace, because her Son will take away the disgrace of the whole world. Amen.